filmmaker whose career that you guys maybe would kind of model your own career after, that you kind of look at how they have conducted their career over the course of 15, 20 years and go, oh, I want a career like that?
There's directors I have respect for that usually it's about versatility. You know, directors that seem like they can do very different movies and kind of go between different kinds of genres, but it always feels still theirs in some way.
Anybody in particular?
I've liked Steven Soderbergh at times.
Yeah.
I've really respected his career.
He can bounce
He's
around.
the guy.
Yeah, he bounces
One for them,
around,
one for
and
them.
every movie is completely him, but he's doing very, very different films.
Right.
He's
Different
not
budget
like
levels. and-
doing the like a Steven Soderbergh film type thing.
Exactly.
Like, it's like he's
Yeah.
just letting it be whatever
Well, that
it is.
kind of jumps ahead a little bit to what I was going to talk about later about whether or not the auteur theory is kind of an outdated or at least unrealistic idea nowadays. Whether or not, in a way, this is kind of a barbershop conversation. Like we can debate over, you know, what you like, your own kind of personal feelings. But you look at a career like Wes Anderson, who I point to him because he's so specific, like what he does. You know, he does it so well. But I have to admit, as a fan, I'm kind of like, what else you got? You know, like it'd be awesome to see him do like a horror movie or like just totally do something. Like Aronofsky, one of the most brilliant things he did was he took this awesome like hip hop style editing that he did with Pi and Requiem, and then he just dumped it and went off to do The Wrestler and Black Swan. It just showed this amazing range, you know. And
Into
so
the
Soderbergh-
foundation of it.
And
So,
even when
yeah. Oh, well, yeah.
It
but
found
the
time,
problem is
yeah.
like even if that movie like is like that movie is he was swinging for the fence.
was
Yeah.
I don't know if he like got
Yeah.
there, but like it was like he was trying things.
There's a genius
But, yeah.
failure in a way. You know?
Yeah,
Like,
no, I
it's
totally
failed
agree.
big.
That's what I think filmmakers always need to do is like, you have to go swing for the, you always have to go there. But I do think that the auteur theory wasn't born out of, very specific filmmakers, but it was born out of filmmakers that were working within an industry, within a system, and still somehow finding a way of having their personalities come through. I mean, like, you have all these guys like Anthony Mann and Bud Whitaker, all these guys in the 50s, Ford, Houston, Hawks. They're making studio movies. Those auteurs, they're different. There's like, it's almost, they're working within a studio system. They're working with other people's scripts for the most part. And they're going from studio project to studio project. And some of them obviously had more control than others. But it was more of like an essence or something that came across, even within a system that they could come through. And I feel like that's still there, but I feel like being auteur now is much more about your trademarks, your like these quintessential shots, or
Your brand.
Your brand, yeah. And I think that there is a difference between that and it becomes then harder maybe to jump from genre to genre, into.
You think directors need a brand to really stand out?
I think
particularly nowadays.
They've pushed this idea. I don't think you need. I mean, going back to Soderbergh. Soderbergh, he does, or Fincher even. Those guys can jump.
Or like Winterbottom. Like who else does that kind of stuff?
They're jumping?
Coen Brothers at this point really jump a
Ang
lot.
Lee,
Ang
Sense and
Lee,
Sensibility and The Hulk.
Yeah.
And Brokeback.
I think I agree with what you said. Where there are times where you see a filmmaker who's become so specific, and so they're becoming more and more specific as they go along.
Right.
And it gets kind of boring. You want something new. You want them to challenge something. Like a Bruno Dumont, for example, a French director. I want to see Bruno Dumont make a comedy.
Right.
Bruno Dumont makes just very heavy, dark, philosophical film. It's very in the Dardenne brothers too. They sort of stick to something it's great. It's always great, but you almost just say, just mess up once.
Yeah.
Just go and make a big mistake with something that then leads you or opens you up to something else. Because I think that's the other thing is that being a filmmaker is you grow, you change. It's like you.
I remember being in the theater when Match Point. There was a trailer for Match Point came up, and it was like this. It was like edited very like different than any Woody Allen movie. Like very sexy, sleek, romantic kind of thriller. Beautiful people and
Didn't
deception.
put his name on it.
No, at the very end of the trailer, it said a film by Woody Allen, and there was literally a gasp in the audience. Everyone was just like, "Wow," and it was exciting to see. Oh, this is going to be something maybe a little different.